Don't go away because you've got the finance performance report for the 9 months to 31st of March. So this is tracking reasonably flat, around plus or minus 1 million for the year.
Yes. The 9-month report and forecast at the end of June is very consistent with the December forecast, which we presented in February. I'd just perhaps take you through the key points. Operating deficit at the end of March, 0.7 million. You'll note the comment there around the 15th March incident costs, just below that. That's an improvement on December, and in fact the April forecast that we've just received is putting us fractionally in surplus, so there wouldn't appear to be an operating deficit issue at this stage.
Good stuff.
Operating revenue forecast 745 was 743 in December, so slightly better due to interest revenue, NZTA subsidies partly offset by lower consenting revenue. Over on page 140, operating expenditure, current forecast 603 was 602 in December, so very little change. Year to date, significantly under budget, largely due to timing, some key projects there, Heathcote dredging, Lancaster Park demolition and earthquake repairs, running behind the timing that was budgeted. Capital expenditure, we've also got an error in our report. The year-to-date spend there has incorrectly been copied down from the operating expenditure. It should be 323 million with a forecast of 465. Those numbers are slightly different than what Dave would have presented this morning because we include the equity investments in CCHL and V-Base.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much, Bruce. Vicky?
Was the additional rates growth during the year?
Sorry, what was the
That
additional
should be
rates?
a standing item.
Was it 5.9?
I think so. There's some additional penalties as well as rates income.
Higher rates income, 5.9 million.
Yep.
Higher rating growth, 5.3. Just remind me what's budgeted in next year?
4.2.3. Yep.
4.2.3, page 142. Yeah.
Sorry.
Just remind me what's budgeted in next year's annual plan.
That is included, and an additional. Where's Andrew?
I think it's around 5, isn't it?
Approximately 4 million. We've got close to 10 million of growth in total included.
So you obviously include this year's because it's already there. But for next year, the expected rate growth in rates income will be 4 million, is it?
I think it's 1% in the draft.
The 5.9 is incorporated, and we're expecting growth. I believe the number's about 4.4 million in this financial year, which will impact next year's rates.
So in the budget
yes.
for next year, you know how you have a line item, rates growth
yes.
for additional properties that come onto the rateable thing. What is that figure for next year? You think 4.4?
From memory, it's 4.3, 4.4 million.
Can you just get back to us with what it actually is?
Yep.
That would be great. Thank you.
Andrew?
Thank you. Two separate questions. The first of which relates to the operating deficit, so 0.7 million with another 0.6 plus 0.1 to add, but then obviously taking the commentary that you've made about some movement in the opposite direction as well. Is there anything else that's likely to affect the operating deficit before year end, or that's likely to affect projections moving into next year's budget that'll affect the annual plan? Is there anything else coming up that you'd be aware of?
Not that we're aware of. The forecast is updated each month by the finance advisors and finance business partners, so the information's as good as we've got. As I say, the end of April number was a 0.4 surplus, so it's sort of hovering around being break even.
So from a tracking point of view, that means we should expect it to continue to hover around the break-even as we move towards year-end?
Yeah, that is our current estimate of
current
year-end.
expectation.
Yep.
All right, that's fine. Then I come back to the question that I placed incorrectly earlier in the day, which is around the 15 million additional budget that we approved for the town hall. And the expectation that was raised at the time we approved that would be found within adjustments to existing capital budgets. Going back, might have been last month or the month before, I'm aware that that report was at that time being prepared, so I'm guessing that it's close to being completed now. So 2 questions. When is that report expected to be presented to the committee, and is it tracking as expected, or are there any gaps or holes that we're expecting to see?
Perhaps I could answer that.
Speak to that. In Alistair's paper earlier today, there is a report that says that this will come back to you first quarter 1920, after the year end is completed and all other known carry forwards are identified. So they won't be. This report will not be tabled until September 2019.
Okay.
That gives them an opportunity to ensure that they close out this year on all projects and see any tangible gains to be actually made available to the town hall.
So in the February, I think it was February, report to this committee, there was commentary that the report was in the process of being written. Clearly there's been a change in approach since then to review this matter once we reach financial year end, and then to provide that 3-month window to prepare the report and bring it to us by the end of that first quarter.
That's what I believe has happened, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Yanni?
Thank you. I was just wondering around the housing, why we've seen a delay in the housing maintenance.
That's probably a question for a particular member of staff. What page, Yanni?
143, we've got a lower 1.1 million lower housing maintenance, and there's also a carry forward of the housing repair program of 2 million and a favourable operational housing variance of 0.9 million. So it just seems to me like there's a number of housing units that we know we just want to get on and get repaired, and we've got the government legislation coming in. Yeah.
Can we get someone to answer that question?
I believe Andrew asked that, Councillor Turner asked that question in February, and I believe Bruce Rendell gave a response. I'm not sure who it went to, so possibly that needs to be distributed.
Ben, any ideas?
Yeah, sure. The maintenance program is ongoing. It also includes adhering to the legislation over the healthy homes with their own units. So there will be a bill or series of bills over that leading up to completion of the insulation program this month.
Okay.
So there's a lag in there.
Okay.
But,
can you get Bruce to send that information through to Yanni?
Okay, cool. And then the other one is on page 142, 4.2.2, lower interest and dividends received by CCHL dividend being delayed to 2020 due to additional rating growth. Why would we delay getting the dividend from them? Just because of rating growth?
That was retimed to next year to align with the
It was the
solid waste eco-central
Right. Oh, okay.
Cost.
So
cost for next year.
they're incurring the cost of Eco Central this year, and next year we would get the dividend
We
back.
bought it for 3 years and we've just pushed it back again.
Right, so that they can cover the cost. Yeah.
But we don't need
Sorry, there was one more question. It was just we've got in 4.2.1 a reference to higher NZTA operational subsidies. We've heard sort of whisperings about something happening with NZTA. Have we got any additional information around whether that's likely to continue in terms of the forecast? Or is there something else that we need to know?
We believe the paper's going to the NZTA board on the 8th of May, and from that they will then inform us about whether there's any changes, what those changes will be. So we're expecting something with a bit of detail by the middle of May
That's our understanding. As you will be aware, though, the chairman's just resigned, and so NZTA is in a little bit of turmoil at this point in time. Sorry?
Yeah. So basically, in terms of this performance report, by the time it gets to the 12-month performance report, we could see a significant change to 4.21 based on what NZTA decided.
Not really to the 4.21. What we will see changes probably is in feeding into our annual plan, really. I think that basically they will meet their obligations of this year, but it might be some significant changes for the annual plan next year.
Okay, all right, thanks. Dave, while you're there, I've just got a quick question, page 149, item 24. Last sentence, electricity costs are being 0.4 million higher due to a generator unit at the wastewater treatment plant which required repairs. As a result, power was drawn from the grid. That's a pretty chunky number for a generator repair.
Our generator generates quite significant. Look, I'd have to get Adam to tell you what the percentage is, but it's a very high percentage of our generation because we use both gas from the digesters and we use gas from Burwood. So the generator goes out. Recognise it's your biggest asset by a long shot. It's the water flow that goes through. It's bigger than the Avon and the Heathcote added together, so it gives you an idea of how much flow goes through that treatment plant, and it does take quite a lot of power. So we just get a generator out for a short period of time, and we use a lot of power from the grid.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Got a resolution to receive the report. I'm happy to move. Seconded Pauline. Any debate? I'll put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against, that's carried.